TypeScript 5.8 is still under active development and isn't released yet. But one new feature which was in development for over a year is so exciting that I cannot wait for the final release to show it to you. So that's why we take a look at it right now. Let's get started. So let's say we have a type here, user type, and this user type will have two different properties for two different kind of users. So we have a person property here, and this will be an object with a property first name, which is a string, and last name, which is also a string. Now the second property will be company, and we will say this has a property name, which is of type string. Now let's say we want to create a function which will create for us a mock user, which is either of type person or company. So how could we do this? We say we have a function and we say mock user. Now let's see how we can create this mock user. So what this function should do is it should take an input string, either person or company, and then it should create for us a person object or a company object. So we want to create a generic function. So we say we have a type t, which extends key of user type. So this allows t only to be of type person or company. And then we have an argument here called type, and we say this is of type t. Now, what is the return type here? We want a generic return type, so we say we have a user type here, and what we will do here is we will say we use the indexed access with t. What this should do is it should tell TypeScript we have this t we pass in, which is either person or company. So when I put in person, I want to get the type of person, so first name and last name. When I put in company, I want to have an object with the name property in there. So let's see if this is working. So we will create an implementation here, and let's use a switch, and we switch on our type here. So we say case person, and we say return first name, which is John, and last name, which is Doe. So we can see we get some errors, but maybe this is just the case because not all of our branches are implemented. So we will say here case company, and we say return, and we will use an object here, and we say Apple, for example. Now we can see we still get some errors, but let's see what the return type error here is. We can see function lacks ending return statement, and return type does not include undefined. Now this is strange, right? Because we have all of the cases done, but it looks kind of like that TypeScript does not understand that these are the only two types. Okay, so let's say we have a default here, and we say we return undefined. Now, at least the return type here is satisfied, but we can see we get errors here on our return keyword. So let's see what the issue here is. When we hover over this, we can see that first name, last name is not assignable to type user type t. Now, why is this? Because it's lacking this name string type here. So TypeScript wants to tell us that we also need to add the property name in here, for example, with Apple. And as you can see, now line 10 is compiling fine. But this is not what we want to do in our code, because this is a restriction TypeScript currently has. It cannot narrow the return type by using this generic t we pass in. So how can we fix this? Well, until version 5.7, so the currently available one, we need to use, for example, overloading. So what we need to do to fix this is, let's remove this name here again, and we will create an overloaded function declaration. So we say we have function here, and we call it also mock user, and we also say this has an argument with name type, and the type of this argument is person, and in this case, the return type will be the indexed access of user type person. So in this case, we will return an object with first name and last name in it. Now we can copy this here, and we can do the same for company. So we say company here, and in the user type indexed access, we also say company. Now in our real mock user implementation, what we need to do is we need to remove this generic part here, and we say this type here is either person or it's company, and the return type here is also either person or company. And as you can see, now we don't need this default case, so we can remove this. But in my opinion, this is not really nice, because we have to create all this boilerplate code, this overloaded functions, just to achieve a narrowing of our return types. But the good news is that, as mentioned in the beginning, version 5.8 will fix this for us. So let me show you how awesome this new feature is. So the first thing we will do is we will switch over from version 5.7 we are currently to the version 5.8 dev version. So this version, of course, is still in development, but when version 5.8 will be available, you will have access to this awesome feature. So let's switch over, and what we now can do is we can remove quite some code. Let's remove these overloaded functions here, and now we can go back to our generic approach. So we say we have our t, which extends key of user type, And now here our type does no longer have a union of person or company, because we can say this is of type T, and our user type here also does no longer use an indexed access of person or company, but it now can use T to narrow the return type. So as you can see with version 5.8, this works just fine. And we can also use this quite easy. So let's say we have our person mock here, and we say mock user, and then we say we have our person. And now when we check the type, we can see that this now has a first name and a last name. So let's copy this and let's create a company mock. So we say here we have our company mock, and we say we call our mock user with company. And when we hover over this, we now get the type of our company, which only has a name property in there. So in my opinion, this is a really exciting feature we will get in version 5.8, and it will help us tremendously to write less code and let TypeScript do the heavy lifting for us. If you're interested how this was implemented in detail, I will add a link to the GitHub pull request, which was already merged, in the description below, because I really enjoyed reading this pull request, as the person which implemented this really took their time to explain everything in detail, why this was needed, why this is necessary, and how it was done. So a great example how to write a great pull request. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something useful today. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date for the newest TypeScript stuff. And also let me know in the comments what kind of topics you'd like to have covered in future videos. See you in the next one. Bye.